Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Halifax. Welcome back to the HaliBlab on, well, it's not raining and it's not snowing today. So yay for us, because I still don't have my snow tires on. That's coming on Monday. I'm your host, Anita Kirkbride. Today, my guest is Sandra Currie-Samson, who we're going to introduce in just a minute. If you're watching live here on Facebook, please do let us know that you're here and interact with us, ask questions, tell us what you think about what we're saying, because we like to have that interaction when we can. If you're catching this via the podcast, come join us on live someday. It's a lot of fun on here when people start getting involved and asking us questions. You can see HaliBlab live on Facebook at the Twerp Communications page every Friday afternoon at 1:30 p.m. Atlantic. So let me introduce my guest, Sandra Currie-Samson. Sandra, who I've known for, I don't know, about 2 years now, probably. Over the years, Sandra's own learning has been a source of inspiration and transformation. She is dedicated to creating that experience for others. In her career as a learning and development consultant with a master's in education in studies of lifelong learning, she has designed and facilitated training sessions for a wide variety of participants and industries. Some of her favorite topics to teach are powerful presentation skills, train the trainer, and smarter thinking. She possesses in-depth knowledge of adult education and leverages this knowledge to provide learning opportunities that are engaging, relevant, and meaningful. Sandra is also an instructor in the Certificate of Adult Education program at the College of Continuing Education, Dalhousie University. Sandra's excitement for learning and teaching infectiously allows her to be an energetic and enthusiastic educator, trainer, and facilitator, and she loves to help others be the same. And Sandra is my go-to person when I am trying to figure out what I need to do for a new workshop and how to put it together. So welcome, Sandra. Thanks for joining me today.
Oh, it's great to be here this afternoon. Yeah.
I've taken a couple of workshops from you, and I still have the very first folder. I should have pulled it out. The very first folder that you gave me with the outline of here's the things you need to do to build your course. And I still have the outline for that course that I've still never put together.
That's the number one problem. It's if people stumble over. It's not that they don't want to have a course. It's not that they don't have the stuff to put in it. They just don't do it.
Just don't do it. I can't tell you how many times I've outlined something and then just not done it. Why do you think that is? What is our problem? Why can't we just do it?
I think sometimes it's fear that you are not, you don't have anything worthy to share. And I know most of your listeners do. And I think we underestimate the amount of time that it takes to create a really good course or workshop.
It does. It really does, because you're just outlining it and then, wow, creating the content and the handouts and the take homes and the videos and there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. One of the industry guidelines when people, when I'm working with certain clients, they'll ask me, how long does it take to design a course? And I usually tell them, if you're doing for every 1 hour of face-to-face time, it usually takes about 15 to 20 hours of development, like to get all your, I know people go, wow. But if you think about it, getting your outline, your content, your activities, all the materials ready, prepped to go, it takes about that much time. If you're doing online and you're recording video, you can add another maybe 15 to 20, like you can double it, right? Because video takes longer to perfect as well. So, it is a time-consuming activity. And I think that's what people, get their outline and then they're going like, how am I going to do this, right? And it really, they underestimate the amount of time that it takes.
Okay, so let's back up before we get into specific questions. How did you get into this as a business?
Oh, well, that's a really good question. So my background, learning has always been important to me, and teaching has become equally important. So when I started my career early on in the early 90s in not-for-profit, and then I took time off to be a stay-at-home mom. And when I was coming back into saying, okay, what am I going to do now? I like to go back to work. I really wasn't sure what I was going to do. So I started back into the not-for-profit, which was fine, but I really was looking for more. And one of the things that I've always had on my bucket list was to do a certificate of adult ed. And I went back and I did that. And then I was encouraged from that to do my master's. And as I was completing my master's, I fell into some training, technology training, and loved it. And I really, all those three things really fueled my passion for teaching. And when I had an opportunity to take a really great contract, and I needed a business number. So that's how I fell into owning my own business. I never started out saying, hey, I'm going to own a business, right? I just wanted to work and teach and train. And from there, it's just evolved into this little, this thing that has a mind of its own. But I really love what I do. So it's all makes it worthwhile. Yeah.
So you really are an accidental business person.
I am an accidental business person. I never thought I would own a business, but here I am. Yeah.
I've told this story many times. I always swore I would never own a business. It's not that I thought I wouldn't. I swore I wouldn't. I wanted to own a business. I was never going to work in an agency. I was never going to be a teacher.
There you go. And now look at it.
And now here I am, and that's exactly what my business model is. So you just know how things are going to work out.
Right. Yeah.
Everything we do is moving us towards where we're supposed to be, right?
That's right. I believe that's. I strongly believe that.
Yeah. You believe that. Okay, so that's how you got to business. So tell us what is your business really? Like, what do you do on a daily basis to help people? What is it?
So a lot of my clients, are entrepreneurs, and they are people like yourself. They're consultants. They are coaches. And they want to design and have a course to offer to their clients. So it could be something that's like, I hear a lot, I want to have a course that's like my passive income. So it's up there and people just go in and sign up. And that's great. And I help people pull that information together. Some people want to do workshops, lunch and learns for marketing purposes. And I help them just figure out what their content's going to be and how they can deliver it really efficiently with their audience. So that's one aspect of my business. The other aspect is working with smaller to medium-sized businesses who may not have an in-house trainer, who may not, they may or may not have HR, but they see opportunities for training. So I can go in and help them assess that, help them develop training. And then I offer a lot of different training programs as well. So those are sort of some of the things that I do. I also work with people that may have a training or a workshop or a course already developed. They may have been teaching it for a couple of years now, and they want a fresh set of eyes on it so that they, can get some good feedback about it and maybe update it as well for their clients.
So where do you tell people to start? I want to do a course on how to make ice cubes.
Right. So one of the things that I tell people is really to understand your why you want to create that course, because your course, especially in your business, is an extension of your brand, is an extension of your subject matter expertise, and you want to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. As we said, you don't want to start doing a course and then figure out, oh my gosh, I really don't like to teach, or this is way too much work, or it's not the right thing for my business. So I always tell people, understand your why first, why you want to do this, because someday you're going to, when you're developing your course, you're going to say, okay, why am I doing this? And then you can remind yourself, this is why it's important for you to unleash this to the world. And then the second thing that I tell people is that you need to understand what your audience wants, because there's no sense of having, doing all that work on a course and you miss the mark. Right. One of the stories I can tell is that somebody approached me and she had spent hours and money to have a course developed, and she put it out there and no one signed up. And one of the things that was interesting to me is that her audience was for 50 plus, and yet she created an online course. And I'm going, maybe that wasn't the best, match for who your intended audience was. So I really encourage people to understand. It's just like if you're doing, marketing, if you're doing, developing your business, when you do your market research, it's the same thing with a course. Understand who your audience is, what they want, what they need, and then marry that with what you think they need to know, because you are the expert. So you have to have those sort of, the needs, we call it a needs assessment, but you have to know that, there are your needs as an expert. And then you also have to marry that with the needs of and wants of your audience.
Right. Yeah. So it really comes back to market research.
Absolutely.
Something that we're hearing, at least I'm hearing more and more about the importance of market research. And I fall into the same trap as every other entrepreneur out there. I don't like to do market research.
No, I know it's hard, right?
It's hard. Yeah. Like I create courses and workshops because somebody says to me, oh, I'd like to have a workshop on Hootsuite. So I create a course on Hootsuite, but I don't really know if there's a big market out there for that.
That's right. And it's not only just the market for it, it is understanding who your audience, what is their pain points? Like, why do they struggle with, say, for instance, having some sort of, social marketing scheduler or whatever? Like, why, what is their struggle with that? Why would it be important to them? And understanding also, I think this is big, is understanding how they like to learn, where they like to learn, where they are already. And is this something that you can teach? Is it trainable? Sometimes it's just information that we can provide our clients with that's much easier. It could be done in a blog or a video. Does it have to be a course? So you have to understand that aspect for your audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you see are there any trends? I hear some trends about courses, but are you hearing any trends? Are we trending more online, less online?
So I think in the last, few years, everything went online. Like everybody had an online course, every business, everything was done through e-learning. And what I'm hearing is that people are done. They are missing the social aspect of it, right? We are social beings. We learn. Yes, we can learn individually, but we learn more effectively when we learn with others. And I think we're starting to see that sort of, I don't want to say backlash, more of a pushback, saying, I don't want to be just constantly on my computer screen. Right. So I think knowing this about your audience and having that, and you can maybe have more of a blended approach is more effective. But I think that's is changing. The other thing in the world of training, which may or may not be, applicable to some of your viewers, but it is work integrated learning. People want to learn as they're doing their job. Right. So they don't necessarily want to take a course. They want to be able to just go and learn from watching someone else, or actually be given a task and then learning as they do it. So I think as people who work with our various clients, we need to be really thinking about how we can integrate some of those trends into what we give to when we teach or when we train or offer that kind of content.
I would say, so I just finished a course this morning and we had our feedback session. And that's one of the things that we talked about, that there was a question of, well, could this be delivered online in the future? And the feedback was kind of, well, no, because people like getting together. They like, and we talked about the fact that one of the best parts of the course were the times when we would talk about one person's specific struggle, pain point, issue, idea, and all brainstorm. And you'd have 12 people working on one person's problem and 12 perspectives, and how much you can learn from doing that kind of brainstorming.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You can't always you can't get in a straight online course. You might get in a blended program.
Right, right,
Yeah.
and I think people are really starting to come back to that. I think for the longest time, people were just like, "Oh, I can sign up and do it on my own," and that's valuable for a lot of people. That works. It's helpful in certain circumstance, but I think if you're trying to master skills, if you're trying to, problem solve, it is so much easier to do when you have other people to bounce the ideas off of and get that input back and forth.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
and that's the most fun for me too, is when
Yeah.
people all kind of saying, well, what about this? And what about that? And maybe you could do this activity for your course. And, this kind of handout would be really helpful and
Hmm.
things like that. Personally, that's the part of any course that I enjoy the most is the brainstorming.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with you on that.
Yeah. So tell me about social media for your business. How are you using social media to move your business forward?
Okay. So I think for me, social media, like my business, was sort of something that I go, I guess I need to get on the bandwagon. Am I the most proficient in social media? Not necessarily, but what's worked for me is just making sure that I'm visible and that I have content out there that people can use. And I think um, one of the challenges I have with social media is that, as my business gets busier, those are the times that you may not see me on social media as much, right? Because I'm concerned with other things. And then I go, oh my gosh, I've ignored my social media. So I need to, I try to get things in place and schedules and use some of the tools to pre-program some stuff. But I think for me, it's been huge in brand recognition. I know now when I walk into a room, people go, "Why do I know you?" Or "I've heard your name. You're the course lady." A lot of that is because of social media, just being out there. I also use social media for my own benefit, and that is to make sure that I'm learning from people who know more about what I do than I do, or have a different perspective. So for me, following the people that are doing the research and
Yeah.
are working in different industries and learning about their best practices, that's vital for me, because for me to teach somebody, I have to stay current, and social media for me is the most effective way to do that. I have, like, on Twitter, I have a list that that are all learning and development people that are out in the field doing it, and they're the ones that I learn from. So
Mhm.
I think that is one of the ways that I really enjoy using for social media. Yeah.
I love that you brought that up as an example because a lot of times, especially when it comes to Twitter, people people assume or they think that social media is all about broadcasting your
Yeah.
messages, and it shouldn't be. But
Hmm.
especially with Twitter, people don't, until they really get into it, don't understand that even if you never put out a single message on Twitter, you can use it for your own market research or your own education.
Yeah.
You can link up with pretty much anybody in the world
Yeah.
who's on there, obviously, but experts in any field, they're
Yeah.
all having conversations. And even if they're not having conversations, if they're just broadcasting, they're broadcasting their stuff.
Yeah.
Really
Absolutely.
good place to go and find those experts and keep current and find out about new things that you may not have had any other way to find out.
Right. Yeah. I advertise my content and, my blogs and stuff like that. But I use social media, I think, more for my own learning and interaction with other people and engagement. And that to me is the exciting thing about social media, right? Is having those conversations with somebody in Australia and being able to say, oh, take their learnings and incorporate it, so that when I'm teaching a room full of people or I'm online, this is current. This is, try this, right? Because it's working in other places. So I think for me, that's the exciting thing about social media.
Yeah, absolutely. Which platform is your favorite?
I think for me, Twitter is one of my favorites for engagement. You
Mhm.
know, I can get in trouble. I can get into the Twitter rant and then like, oh my God, moments like, really, I can't believe anyone just did that or said that. But, I think I do enjoy it for the instant engagement. But I also, I appreciate LinkedIn. Just again, for those, for following, influencers, for following people that are doing, great things, and just for the professional aspect of it. Yeah, I think those are my two. Facebook, I use it more for personal reasons than I do business, but and I'm on Instagram, not and it's again Instagram. I started out as just as like, oh, I'll just take some photos, right? But it's just sharing my life so that people just get to know who I am as a person. So
yeah. Well, and that's why I asked the question, because everybody's got a different answer. And I'm always happy when somebody says Twitter is their favorite, because Twitter is still my favorite. I still love Twitter because you can go on there and have conversations with anybody. And it feels much more spontaneous and instant than Facebook or Instagram. Like you can actually have those conversations back and forth and back and forth. And I do love, although I don't have a lot of conversations currently with people very far away, I love the ability to do that and build relationships. So, for example, when Stacey Maynard came to Social Media Day Halifax from Ontario, when she walked up to me at the conference and I saw her for the first time, I went, oh my God, I feel like I know you.
Yeah.
We felt like we had known each other for years because we'd been talking online. And I think that's one of the benefits that so many people miss when they don't engage in the social aspect of social media.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other thing I like about Twitter is that you get to, it's so easy. You can search it so easily using hashtags, right? So, if you're looking for information on a certain topic or an event, you just hashtag it and then it's all there for you. And I like that convenience of it. And, some of, this is a personal note, not necessarily, but, some of my favorite shows like This Is Us, right? I love, after I've watched the episode, of course, I'll go in and see what everyone else was thinking about that episode. And to me, that's so neat, right? That we have that, ability to do that. And you can do that, to learn and or to, share, teach someone else, right?
Yeah. It's funny. As much as I love Twitter, I don't follow shows that way. I don't. Sometimes I used to pull up the second screen and sort of be watching the Twitter feed for the Academy Awards or something like that. But I guess I stopped doing it because I don't have cable. So we often are watching things after they've broadcast. And when you're following that stuff online, you get a lot of spoilers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's probably why I stopped following a lot of the TV conversations. But it is interesting to go on there and get all the different perspectives of a really good show like This Is Us, or to pick up all the things that you didn't pick up from the Academy Awards and why so-and-so was wearing a orange ribbon or whatever.
Right.
The conversations happening on Twitter are really interesting.
Yeah. And, really, that's all a part of our learning too, right? Like people don't think about it as learning, and people say, I don't have time to learn. Yeah, you do, but you can figure out different ways, whether it's, that check in to see what's going on a certain topic, to, really starting to follow somebody and having those engaging conversations. That's all about learning. And you can always translate that back into teaching what, with your own clients, because you have just broadened your perspective on a topic. And I think as anyone who wants to teach, train, facilitate, you need to stay abreast, because if things are changing so rapidly, like, social media is not, a year ago is not the same as it is today, right? So, and it's every industry. So I think we need to be much more aware of, how stagnant our own information is, so that we are providing the newest and latest to our clients, right?
So what would be your number one tip if business was just starting up and you happened to be somebody they were talking to at networking, let's say, you like social media, well, what would you say to that person to encourage them maybe to get started? Or what would be your number one tip for somebody starting out in social media?
Well, yeah, you know what? I think, just do it. Like, don't be afraid of it. I think people, I know when I first started, I don't know if I have anything to say. And now I think I have too much. But, I think you just need to do it and not worry about it. As long as you're being true to yourself, true to your brand, there are no bad well, there can be, but I think you have to, as long as you're, aware of who you are and be kind. I always say that, do good on social media. And I also think, think about your content, what have some sort of plan, and think about, how you can sort of build on, start out with basic stuff. And then as you get a following, then you can start building on some more elaborate stuff. But, just be basic. It doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah. Well, and I tell people all the time, don't compare, if you're just starting out in social media, don't compare where you are right now to where I am or where Sandra is or Janet watching where Janet is, because we've been at it for 5, 6, 8, 10 years.
Right.
So we've had time to develop a lot of this stuff, a lot of the content, a lot of the processes. But what you should do is look at, not that it's easy to do, but look at where we were when we started and what we did then and figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for people who are just starting out to look at maybe somebody in their industry who is an expert, who has a whole team of people helping them. And they're putting out all this stuff everywhere. And I mean, I fall into that too. I look at a Marie Forleo or an Amy Porterfield and they have a team.
Absolutely.
Why can't
But, and I think, that's an important piece because, if you're doing it yourself, you can only do so much, right? So you have to, it's where your level of priorities are. And, social media presence is important, but if your client isn't on social media, right, you have to understand that too, right? If your client isn't necessarily on social media and they're not following you, like, they're not the ones that are going to, oh, I'm going to follow Anita, right? Then, your activity, your business development activity could maybe be spent, elsewhere. But social media, I think for me, it has been important to create that sense of, oh, there is somebody here in the city that knows about this, right? So
it's great. And all of them can do this, but I find Twitter especially, when you walk into any networking event in this city, I mean, Halifax is small enough that this is true. You walk into any networking event, there's going to be at least one other Twitter person in that room who you've probably had conversations with, and you're going to recognize each other from Twitter.
Yep.
So, I just went to a networking event downtown last night. I walked in the room and my initial reaction was, wow, I know nobody in this room, which was surprising for me. But then as I looked around, I started to pick out faces and people that I've never met before, but have had great conversations with online.
Yeah.
So it's fun that way.
Yeah. And I think too, if you travel, like to conferences, I know somebody here in the city. I didn't know him before. We were both at a conference in Toronto, and we were tweeting back and forth at each other, and then it was like, we're both from Halifax, right? And it was just that whole, oh wow. So then, we've become good friends and colleagues since then. But it was that whole, finding each other on Twitter because we were tweeting the same things about the conference, and it was, it was just that, a moment and going, oh wow. But I think that's what social media allows you to do, right? Is to engage people and create those relationships, and just learn from each other. But also, it can be really fun. I find it fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So one more question about social media. what do you use any tools to help you manage it, or are you straight to Facebook and straight to Twitter?
So I use Buffer for my Twitter feed. So so one of the things I do, I use Pocket. So I use Google Chrome and I use Pocket. So as really great articles are popping up on my tabs, I'll buffer them. So I'll just automatically will put them into my Twitter feed, which is great. And Facebook, I do schedule for the weeks ahead, but I don't. LinkedIn, I'm very organic about LinkedIn. And Twitter, again, I do have stuff scheduled, but I'm very much like I'll hear something or read something or see something, and I'll go in and tweet. So I'm very very much live on Twitter a lot. So
Buffer and Pocket are the two.
Pocket. Oh my gosh, Pocket. I don't know how I live without Pocket.
I always ask this question. Well, I haven't asked it on every episode, but I like to ask this question to people to find out what they're using. Sometimes I find out about things I've never heard before, and then I have to go check them out. But Pocket's one that I've never really gotten into using.
Okay.
So what is it about Pocket that you like?
So I like Pocket for a couple of reasons. Because you can put it, the extension right on your taskbar, and it's like you see an article, you see something or video, you just hit add to Pocket and it's saved. And the other thing about Pocket is that you don't have to necessarily be online. So if you're on an air flight and you have some articles that you haven't had a chance to read, you can pull them up and read them. So that I really appreciate about Pocket. And you can organize it and stuff like that. But it was just one of those things I found by accident. I'm going, why aren't I using this? And yeah, so for me, because I am constantly researching, looking at stuff, and I am, a lifelong learner, I'm always reading. It just helped me manage some of the stuff so that I didn't lose it into an endless world of bookmarks and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, the bookmark thing is difficult. Every time I get a new computer, which I was just explaining in my class today that, for me, somebody who uses a laptop for 18, 20 hours a day sometimes because they're on constantly, my laptops only last 3 years.
Yeah.
It don't last very long. So this is my 4th laptop since I started business. Every time it goes, my bookmarks are gone. So I have to find a better system for that. Maybe, I don't know if Pocket would help with that, but.
Yeah. I mean, it's great for capturing things that, you want to read or that really were valuable. You say, I want to keep that in a nice, safe place. So
in a safe place.
Yeah. That you don't lose, cause I don't know about you, but I'll read something and if I don't save it, then I'll go, where was that? And then I'm trying to find it again and I'm going through history. Yeah.
I started doing that with Evernote for a while. I want to be a fan of Evernote.
I'm not.
I'm not a fan, but I keep trying, darn it. I mean, it seems like such a good program and I just can't get into the habit of using it efficiently, I guess. I don't know.
I am, I think I am part of that, generation that, has embraced technology, but is not necessarily as efficient on technology. So I'm still very much a paper kind of gal, and Post-it notes are my thing and stuff like that. But I tried Evernote. I didn't go back. I just find it cumbersome when I can just write it down on a pad that's beside my computer, right? So
yeah,
that's me.
I just never really saw the benefit of it over Word or all the other things I was using. So Kim just commented here on Facebook that she uses a program called Toby. So it's gettoby.com instead of bookmarks.
Okay.
And it's free. I'll have to go check that one out and see if I used to years ago use, oh God, now it's just gone from my mind. All I can think of is Evernote. But it was an online bookmark system. I want to say Dig. That doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. But there was an online bookmarking program that I used for a while, but I seem to have got the habit. She says Get Toby is an extension for for the browsers. And then Janet had a question a while back, but we had kind of moved on to social media.
Okay.
She's asking, with in-person training, in-person training helps with accountability. How can you put some accountability into online courses?
Okay, this is a really good question, because one of the things that has been proven is that people less than 15, for different statistics, but less than 15% in general don't complete online courses.
Right.
And one of the reasons is that there isn't any accountability.
Mm-hmm.
One of the suggestions is that you have some sort of live component that people need to show up for. And that can be a discussion, a group project, something that they have to be accountable to their peers. And, and having that expectation right up front when you're advertising your course, that this is part of the content and the activities that you want to do, and the why behind it. Again, this because we want people to learn from each other, and to, all those reasons that we stated before. But that's one really great way of having some sort of accountability to it, not necessarily to you, but people are much more accountable when they think it's their peers, right? That if I'm working on something, or you build in some sort of, you go research it and come back and present to the group, right? Mm-hmm. That again is accountability. All good learning, all helping adults, with their self-directed and self-motivated, and finding topics and things that interest them. But it means bringing them back as a group online, and to share what they know, whether, they write up, it's on a discussion board, or they, have an attachment, a document that this is some of the things I found out. But those kind of things will make people much more, dedicated. And it also helps with their learning, and it also makes your job easier, because I think a lot of the times people who create courses and feel that they're facilitating courses have to provide all the content. They're the ones that, because they're the subject matter expert, I have to just keep talking and give everybody. And, that's important to share what you know about something. But I think the value in helping people solve some problems on their own and bring their expertise and what they know really enriches their own learning, and as well as the learning of the group. So that's just one suggestion for online.
Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of, I tend to call them programs instead of courses when they involve that. And I don't know if that's common or if that's just my way of keeping them straight. But to me, a program is one where, you have a module. It might be a video that you go self-study, and then there's office hours or discussion or brainstorming or something else that you participate in live. Mm-hmm. So to me, I've been calling that a program, whereas a course is just completely self-directed. And like I said, that's probably just my own definition, but I like the programs that have the live components.
Yeah. And I think, anytime, and maybe, I agree. I think program courses can be interrelated. There are all these little nuances, right? Like, so let's not get too caught up on that. But I think, first of all, there's so many programs out there, or courses, like there's thousands of them, right? In all different platforms. Usually people will take them because they're very interested in the topic, or they want to take it with you. So if they know you, or they follow you, or on social media, and they trust you, and they think you have a lot they can learn from you, they want to interact with you somehow, right? So yeah, it's great to watch your videos and go through your contents, your activities, on a self-directed, never talking to you sort of thing. But people really appreciate your interaction with you, right? Yeah. So whether it's doing a live Facebook Live, or saying, I'm here like on a Friday afternoon on our private page, come in, we can interact, having some sort of interaction is always beneficial.
Right. Absolutely. I agree. And well, that's a great place for us to finish off, I think. Okay. I actually, so I have a webinar coming up that I hope people will join me on. That one's coming up on December 11th. It will be delivered through Zoom. So let's hope the Zoom gods like me that day, because it'll be my first Zoom webinar. And that one is called How to Build an Evergreen Content Plan That Looks and Sounds Like You. So no more cookie cutters. Let's work together. And it's a heavy, the reason I bring it up, my show, I can promote selfless, shameless self-promotion, but also because it has a heavy interactive component to it. So I'm going to talk to you about how to put an evergreen content plan together, but also we're going to put each person in the spotlight and say, okay, what's your content? How can we build that out into something that you can leverage into more content to save you time in the long run? So I've built that spotlight. I'm calling it spotlight because hot seat sounds hot. So
I like spotlight. I like that. Yeah.
Spotlight each participant for a bit and really give them that interaction, because I think that is the part that people get the most out of sometimes. So that one's coming up on December 11th. If you want more information about that webinar with me, you can find the information on twerp.ca under the workshops tab, or there is an event on my Facebook page as well. So thank you to Sandra for joining me today to talk about courses and online and workshops and all of this, and to reiterate that Twitter is the best platform.
Yeah.
Thank you for
yeah.
If anybody else who's listening is interested in being featured on the HaliBlab, please send me a message and let me know. You can find me on any of the social networks, of course, or you can drop me an email at info@twerp.ca. And I will see you here next Friday with another interesting local business owner to interview. So we'll see you next week. Stay safe, Halifax.
See ya. Bye-bye.